I'll hand straight over to Dan.
Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you for inviting me. And yes, thank you for coming back after lunch. I'm conscious I've got the post-lunch shift. So I thought we'd start off first of all with some aerobics. So everyone on... No, I'm joking.
We knew you'd be the best session to follow up after lunch.
Oh, thank you. I'll drop the aerobics. So I've got an hour with you, and my plan really, it's kind of billed as a workshop. It's you can follow along as much as you can if you want to go onto h5p.org and build your own H5P activities. This is more really to showcase what H5P can do, how it can integrate with your Moodle sites and potentially Mahara sites, and workarounds that you can use to make the most of H5P. And I'll demonstrate some examples, show you a few techniques for building, things like that. Can I just a quick show of hands? How many people are currently using H5P in any way? Oh, very good. And quick show of hands, how many people don't use it at all? A couple, that's fine. You're going to love the next hour or so. So what I thought I would do to get started is I've made a sort of a small course, well I say smallish course. This is going to be to sort of introduce the kind of things that H5P can do. So hello, I'm Dan Jeffries, that's me, a couple of years ago. And I'm the head of online learning for a company called Improve International. Now, my role is I help develop and support and maintain multiple Moodle sites, and within that, the e-learning content such as Rise and Storyline, and really in the last couple of years, working H5P into the equation as well. I've been working in online learning since about 2005, and prior to that, and at the same time as that, I was a teacher in a music college. So my background is education, and I'm not a techie as such. I don't understand what JavaScript is. I know it exists. I don't really know what it does. So I'm very much interested in the creative aspects of software like this. In my own time, I write music, and I also DJ, and for those that don't know, I published a memoir of my life story in 2015, which talks about living with 2 rare medical conditions. So, as you can see, this is our very first example of an H5P presentation, immediately embedded into a Moodle course, and we've got an activity, and we're going to play a game. So, here's 3 questions for you as a group. What was the name of the company that I work for? Can anyone remember? Improve International. So this is the summary activity in H5P where you need to choose the correct statement. And if you choose the wrong statement, you get the chance to actually pick the right one. So this is kind of like a summative activity that H5P includes at the end of their courses. And then I move on. Why am I here today? What's my purpose? Is it to show you how awesome H5P is? Is it because I'm here because this is a really nice way to spend a Monday? Or the free biscuits? Usually you'd be right, but today it's because I'm here to show you how awesome H5P is. And what else do you remember? My memoir was published in 2015 and it's available at all good bookstores. I have 3 rare medical conditions, or I'm a shameless self-promoter. How dare you? It was that one. So, I got 3 out of 3 correct, but I got 2 answers wrong. I literally built that in 10 minutes today. And it's just such an easy thing to do. So this is going to be some of the stuff that we're going to look into. The other areas that we're going to cover, I mean, there are 42 interactive H5P activities that you can work with. Some of them are quick wins, some of them are longer, more extensive activities that you have to work on. So we're going to look at a range. Quick wins, some of these down here are quick wins, and some take a little bit longer to build. Quick show of hands, because I don't want to cover stuff that people have already done it. How many in the room here have built a course presentation in H5P? A few. Okay. So I'm going to give just a quick demo on how it works. So just bear with me while I find the course. I should have done this earlier. Okay, so obviously in teacher mode I can start to edit and build my content. Now, before I even talk about building content, one thing I'm going to suggest to you that you may want to consider as an organisation, and I think this is really, really key, especially if you want to think about using H5P in Mahara and also H5P across any website. So your college may want to include H5P as promotional material on their website, for example. I explained this at the Moodle Moot last year, but you can build, store and manage H5P content in a WordPress site. There is a WordPress plugin built specifically for this, and it's completely the same as the Moodle plugin. Now, we use this because we have a range of authors who need to build course presentations or document tools, but I don't really want to give them Moodle access, and actually they don't really need it. So all this WordPress website does is house and store H5P content. And you can see it's all organised by content type, who the author is. We can tag it. So if I want to quickly find anything to do with, we're doing a course at the minute on gastroenterology, I can click on that and then any activity or module related to that comes up. It's a fantastic way of managing a lot of H5P content. And the biggest win of all of this is this. Let's imagine that you have got a document tool. So we use document tools quite a lot as a way of getting information across. Now, here we go. So this is for the preparation of surgical patients and kit. This could be embedded across 15 different Moodle courses. And you've realised you need to go and add an extra page of information in. All you're going to do is go and change this one item in WordPress, and it will update all 15 because it's coming from one place. So that concept is that if you're using these resources pretty much as resources or interactive elements, and you know you're going to have to change lots of them, and they're housed in different areas, considering a WordPress site to manage all of this, I cannot tell you how much easier it is for our team to work on this. The one caveat and consideration to this is that this will not store any grades in Moodle. These are purely formative, sort of like first level activities. If you do need to record the scores, then you need an LRS system that feeds back into it that can then talk to Moodle, and that gets slightly more complicated. The other thing you can do, just to finally finish on the WordPress side of things, is that anything you build in here, there will be a download and an embed button. You can download the file, you can upload it to H5P in Moodle, and then you can link it to your gradebook. So think of the possibilities of this WordPress site as this central library for all your H5P activity. Anyway, that's my big take home. Think about the WordPress site. If we go back to the course, we were looking at various options. I will cover course presentations in a bit. I think the first thing I want to show you was interactive video. Interactive videos for me are quite possibly the best feature of H5P. Why? Because they're so easy to make. And creating interactive videos and other software, Adobe-based software maybe, is really, really hard, or it can be. And in this instance, making an interactive video is incredibly easy. So I'm just going to show you how this works. So what I've done is I've gone and found a video already, how to cut a dog's hair. Random, I know, but I thought it has a purpose. So you get your walkthrough guide as well, which is quite handy, but we're not going to do that now. And we're going to attach a video, and we paste the YouTube video in. Now, one thing to be aware of, we store a lot of private videos. I don't want my videos on YouTube, so we have a Vimeo account. And Vimeo, if you have a private or a paid-for subscription with Vimeo, you can copy the video link and you can paste it in. so you can use your own private video links. You can also do the same with Panopto. So anyone who has Panopto, you can get the private link and paste it in. I know Panopto has some interactions. I don't think they're particularly good, personally. So I think this is a much better way of working with content like that. We paste the video in. It gives us a few options about interactivity. Do we want a splash screen at the start? Is there a particular image we want to use? And then we get on into the interactions. And here is your editor for creating interactions. Just show of hands in the room, who's done an interactive video in H5P? Okay, a few people. I'm of the opinion now that if I make any training videos, any walkthrough guides or any demonstrations, I have to ask myself, why would I not put it through this piece of software to make it as interactive and engaging as possible for the user? If you do nothing else, you can do things like adding bookmarks. So we may find a point
dogs,
in the video,
which will not damage
here we
this.
go, washing the dog. So we add a bookmark. Oops, my mistake, sorry.
Again, putting special...
Sorry, I'm clicking too much. Where is it? Add the bookmark. Okay. Washing the dog. Okay. And then we may find another point later on. There's lots of washing the dog. Here we go. Drying the dog. So we stick our new bookmark in.
Again, putting special emphasis on areas such as the legs and muzzle.
So, quick and easy bookmarks that the user can click on to navigate to various points in the video. We may want to test their knowledge at a certain point. So, over here, let's get rid of this horrible YouTube bit. We've got all of these interactions at the top, from labels to text boxes to tables, links, images, and also some interactive quizzing elements as well. So, we could have a label pop up that says, obviously. And again, you can change things like whether the video is paused, whether it just sort of appears for a few seconds and then disappears. So what's really nice is that you could, let's say in the middle of a video, pause it and have these various labels pop up to give bits of information, and then they continue again when they press play. But really, it's about the interactions. This is what makes it such a cool feature. So if we were to do a very quick multiple choice, you can choose whether it's a button or whether it overlays as a poster, whether the video is paused. And we're just going to say, this is really silly, but how many legs does a dog have? And here's our options, 2, 3, and usually 4. And then we choose the correct answer. Okay. And there it is. And there's our question that will appear at that point in the video. I just can't get over how easy it is to do this. I'm not going to go through every single piece of content. There are lots of options, like I said, true and false. Anchors, so you can jump to different parts of the video, for example, if you want to sort of guide the user as to where they need to go. And there's also a summary task at the end, which is that summary question I showed you at the start, where you can set some statements that they need to pick the right ones. And that's it. That's kind of how you make an interactive video. And then you save it, and then it's done. So, reuse the content that you can find on YouTube or on Vimeo and make your video. So you can see we've got some bookmarks, so I can jump to drying the dog.
Again, putting special emphasis on areas...
I was rushing a bit. We can see my interaction over here, which will pop up.
Part of the belly this way with the curved scissors.
I know you weren't expecting to watch this after lunch, but...
We can use the texturizing shears over all parts of the body.
Here we go, here we go. There we go. So, obviously it's 2. Oh, it's not, it's 4. Let's try again. Bingo. And then the video. There you go, interactive videos. From a Mahara perspective, again, you could embed the iframe. If you're working off WordPress site, grab the embed code, stick it into Mahara, interactive video straight in. So that was example number 1, interactive video. I'm not going to go over the course presentation building process because I think there's a lot of people here who've probably done it, and it's similar to a PowerPoint presentation. There's an awful lot of demonstration videos out there, and I'm obviously conscious of time. What I wanted to show you is that sometimes Moodle does this. Anyone find this, that sometimes the embed doesn't always appear? You have it as well? I think is it a JavaScript thing, or it's something, I don't know what it is, but I have to kind of resize the page and then it will appear.
It's the page loading quicker than the object is.
Right. Is there any way to fix that?
Slow the page down. And generally, put less on the page. So.
Right. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Hence why someone's trying to explore a way to make stuff pop out so it doesn't all load on the page at once.
Yes. So you could obviously have your content looking, where is it? Like this. So you have the link straight through, but there's obviously something nice about embedding them as well. I just wanted to show you another example. This is an interactive course presentation. This is something we're building for a veterinary company in India. So quite simple layout, but at some point we get to a video example where they need to watch the video. Then there's a quiz question that they need to answer, and a second one, and then they're given. The one thing I find is slightly irritating. You kind of almost want restricted access, that you don't see that last slide until you've passed the quizzes, for example. That's possibly not quite the point of the course presentation. Notice there's an option to print as well, so you can, for the user, print the slides if they wanted to. So that's a good way of giving them access to notes. The other thing I wanted to show you about course presentation, which I need on the second one. Sorry, bear with me. Let's try and resize this. Here we go. You can also make a course presentation what they call active surface mode. Has anyone tried this? Most people do this by mistake. So what I mean by that is this. There's an option in the course presentation where it will say, do you want to try this in active surface mode? And you go, all right, yeah, what does that mean? And then you press yes, and then I'll go, now, are you sure you want to try this in active surface mode? Because anything you've done up to this point, you will lose all the navigation. And the difference is that notice along the bottom, there are no grey areas, there are no slide numbers or slide titles. This is designed purely for an active surface, i.e. a phone or an iPad. And so the navigation has to be very different. And so what we have done, this is a video, a presentation we've made for our content authors to make effective audio and video, is that we use hotspots, basically clickable hotspots, on these little icons. That means that they can scroll through, or if they're on their iPad, swipe across and move on to the next section. So the challenge is this: don't start building it and then think, I wonder what this will look like in active surface mode, because you will not be able to get it back. So you either make a copy of it or you start from scratch. But it works really well, I think. And again, it's another. I actually built most of this in Keynote and exported the images as slides. So it was easier to get these really nice headings in and images. I do realise from an accessibility point of view, I probably shouldn't have done that. I know, don't frown at me, Aurelie. I didn't really think about it at the time. But it kind of worked for us. But it's something I'm going to go back and re-author at some stage. So, course presentations, I think, are a hugely useful way to work. One note of caution, they don't look brilliant on the Moodle mobile app at the present. They don't seem to scale very nicely to a vertical window. And so there's an awful lot of white space that you get at the bottom sometimes when it's embedded in. But hopefully over time that will improve. Oh my God, is it? Oh, okay, now I've got 45 minutes left. thought I had half an hour. Okay. Does anyone want me to go into any specifics on course presentations, people that are building them or have any particular questions about them? One trick I will show you, which I think is really important and worth considering. So this is a lesson that was built directly inside Moodle. I'm going to edit the settings. And then I'm going to load a new, how do I do a new tab? Here we go. So I'm going to add a new H5P, a completely blank one. And this is something that they added, and this is so hugely useful. You can now copy and paste your H5P activities in the editor. So, what does that mean? If I've got, where is it? Sorry. Where's it gone? I need to edit this. If I've got this lesson here, I have an option, and this is the same on the WordPress plugin as well as the Moodle plugin, to copy. And this will copy the entire resource or activity. And then I can go to my new one, and I can paste. Bang, the whole thing is in there. Now, I remember the days of trying to duplicate them and having to copy individual text boxes across from one page to the other, which was horrendous. So this is a huge development. And again, some people are working with H5P in their Moodle site. If they don't have WordPress, they're creating a course page just for teachers and giving them editing access to go and build H5P and create a database of H5P resources and activities inside that Moodle course. And that Moodle course simply becomes a repository, because then you can either go and download it or put it in your sharing cart or import it, or even if you just want to embed it, grab the embed code and stick it in your course. So if you can work with your institution and think about the way to maximize how you can utilize and reshare and reuse H5P content, that would be great. Okay, let's just go back to the lesson and show you a few more examples. I'm not going to go over branching scenarios at the minute because that's a huge thing, but I am going to talk about the essay activity, which I think is possibly one of the best tools that has recently been added to the H5P library. So what the essay question is going to do is going to self-grade your knowledge on a subject by looking for keywords. Okay? So, Don, I'm going to wake you up. What's the purpose of today's Mahoodle Day?
Oh, to learn all about H5P.
Okay. Anything else?
And to improve ourselves internationally.
Okay. Shout out any other things that you think what today is about?
Sharing good practice and what would rubbish and what to try.
Okay. Showing good practice in what?
In Moodle and Mahara.
Okay. And anything else anyone wants to add? Richard? Right.
Biscuits.
There will be biscuits. Who is it organised by? What was it? The University of... Notice my spelling is slightly terrible at times. Let's check what H5P thinks. Oh, I've got 8 out of 13. So look, one of the things is that I got bonus points for mentioning Richard, which I thought was really important. And I can have another effort and try and figure out why I only got 8 out of 13. But let's have a look at the structure of this essay question and how it was built. So what it's doing is it's looking, as I said, for keywords. And you can see the keywords down the side. And I chose Moodle, Mahara, University of Gloucester, Richard. Richard gets extra 5 points for being mentioned. And we forgive minor mistakes, because it might not be the easiest surname to spell. So if I missed an N off at the end, I wouldn't be penalised for it. I forgot to mention myself. That's shocking. Only one for that, I think. The MUA didn't get a mention because that was appearing later, and we didn't mention the date. But you get the idea. And we were able to set a score range between 0 and 80% and give feedback that that's a good effort, and anything above that, completely smashed it. Well done. So how could the essay question be useful? Well, it could be really useful in a sort of summative activity, or again to sort of test knowledge on a subject area where they don't have to write fluently. It could be written in lists or bullet points, but it's about identifying those key points that you're looking for. So I think the essay question is something that's really, really useful actually, and can be used a great deal. We're using it with our vets. The trouble is with vets, the language is so technical at times that I think we're probably shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit. And vets love to write in shorthand. So we're reviewing how effective the essay question is at certain points. But again, we're doing this because we use RISE primarily for most of our course delivery, RISE being the sort of alternative to storyline. And we can embed these H5P activities into RISE. So as a formative element, these little essay tests work really, really well.
Do you use any of the summative stuff? Do you use any of the grading features?
I'll come on to that in a minute. But yes, we don't, but it can be done, and the grading elements in Moodle is really strong. I'll just show you a couple more before we move on to that. So another really simple one to build, but a really effective one, is this memory game. I don't know if you've seen this. So this is basically matching pairs. So our marketing department basically it's our 25th anniversary this year. So they said we want something on our website to match our vet speakers against child versions of themselves, i.e. pictures of them when they were kids. So we got given these different images, and the idea for the people that visit the website is to match up the young and the old version of the vet. Now, this might seem really random and slightly flippant, but again, think about how you could potentially utilize this in your organization. For example, you may want to match up roles against people's pictures, for example, in whatever capacity you can think of. And in terms of building it, it's just incredibly easy. You upload 2 pictures and that's it. And then you have a terrible time trying to figure out who they are. I think he's that one. You can even give feedback as to when you match them, which I'm really struggling to do at the moment.
Yeah.
Hello.
I've seen this before I didn't understand it, and now you're demonstrating it, I still don't understand what it is what you're supposed to do.
You're meant to match the images or the words or whatever it is you're representing. So again, it's like pairs, basically. It's a matching activity.
So is it that you have to click 2 things in sequence that match?
It's not in sequence, it's finding the pairs or the 2 things that correlate to each other. So in this instance, it's the young and the old version of the same person. It might be that you are correlating a medication against a certain disease, for example. So it's a matching game. It's not pairs as such. Does that not make... Do you not see the purpose? Does anyone see the purpose of this?
I can imagine the purpose of matching things together, but I don't understand. I can imagine that you've got to match 2 things together and find the young and the old or whatever it is, but from this interface, to me, it looks like you randomly clicking on things and I don't know why.
Well, but they don't change. So again, it's more of a... What was that?
Because you are randomly clicking.
Well, I was, yeah. It's a memory game. I've got to memorise where this person is, and then...
But I used it myself and I didn't understand it.
Okay.
Instructions at the time, so carry on, ignore me.
No, I'm not quite sure what else I can say, but yes.
Are those now ones that have been correctly matched?
Yes.
And it tells you why they're matched.
Yes.
Make a match.
So we do drugs and conditions, and then people can sit there and try and find out which drug is a condition.
Yeah. So it's a kind of like a reinforcement activity.
Yeah,
I-
like vocabulary thing, what it means or something.
Yeah.
Translation.
I think this illustrates we should never overestimate the ability of people who are teachers or have been teachers to learn stuff.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Again, I think there's a lot of activities in H5P that I kind of look at and go, why would I use that? So, you know, this. I guess it's the level that you're delivering to as well may have relevance as well. The point being, though, it's really easy to build. I think that's what I wanted to get across. One other quick win before we go into a slightly more intense activity. I need a volunteer. Before I pick on Sam. Here we go. Have a volunteer. He put his hand up. Come on then. Up onto the stage. Round of applause. So again, I'm hoping, that's my one condition is, does this computer have a microphone?
That's a good question.
Or is it going to pick up from this
It's
microphone?
gonna pick up. I'm given that. Because it'll work.
But will that go into the computer?
Yes,
It's
yeah.
going to go into Chrome, is it?
Well, it goes into the Excel.
We'll figure it out, okay. So, this is an activity called Speak the Words. And the idea is that using Chrome's or the browser's microphone or interface, he's going to speak the answer and it will mark whether it's right or wrong. So let's have a go. So, it covers Moodle or Mahara. What's today called?
Mahoodle.
Oh, we'll just allow it. Let's try again.
Mahoodle.
Boom! One up. Very good. It's being hosted at the University of...
Gloustershire. Wales.
Very good.
Eggs.
I want to get a wrong answer.
Hey.
I want to get a wrong answer, see what happens.
Okay. Let's try again. Did you enjoy lunch?
Yes.
It thought you said GPS for some strange reason. But yeah, it might be distorting slightly. I think that's what it is. There's two more. Let's try.
400.
Hey, we're laughing.
Last one. What's the name of Dan's fascinating memoir available in paperback, ebook, and...
Me, Myself and I, was it? Well, no, my memoirs now, something like that.
I think it won't. Let's try that once more. Oh, hold on.
Me, Myself and I?
Was it that? I can't remember if it was. No.
Well, you were right, but I think it was... see, I kept this in purposefully because this is where the language becomes funny, is that it didn't pick up between the two. Thank you very much. You're free to sit down. If we just have a look at the makeup of this activity, all you literally have to do is write the question and the answer, and that's it. And potentially offer some variations. So I think I chose... where was one? 400. So both in words and as a number as well. But again, if you can think about the potential benefits of using that, again, at different age levels, for example, or just as a more fun, engaging activity that is still sort of testing knowledge and skill, I think it's hugely useful. So I love the Speak the Words one. It's great. Okay, just going to show you a couple more, and then we can field some questions if anybody's got any. So one of the most useful tools that we use a lot, and we have used this a lot in WordPress as well, is the document tool. So, well, the document tool, it can work in two ways. It can literally work as an interactive document, or it can be a reflective document. So, in this instance, I've got a mixture of the two. So, what we're going to ask the user is to think about areas of study they'd like to develop whilst they're about to take this lesson. So they want to find out more about hair removal, lots of hair removal today, preparing for surgery, and also, what do you want more? Getting the room ready. Excuse my spelling. Then we move on to the next stage. And we're going to give my name, where I work, Vets Limited, and just some info about me. It's not necessary, but could be useful. And then they're going to proceed on to study the lessons. So they're going to learn about surgical sites and the hair removal process. It's really easy building the document tools, a mixture of basically text and images, or these little interactive elements or goals. So here you can see we have some text and we have an image. Again, I know it's not great from an accessibility point of view, but stop grimacing already. There's just nothing. Oh, sorry. That's your happy face.
Second time you said that.
Yes. I know.
I think it's poor.
I fully agree.
As educators, accessibility should be the very first thing on our mind.
Yeah, I totally understand that, but sometimes it's the way we. How can we get that information across into a utility like this when we don't have the ability to put that into H5P? So it's. I know you're looking at me like that doesn't matter.
No, I'm sorry, there's no excuse.
Okay. I completely take that on board and we'll take that back and do some stuff with it, I promise. But towards the end of this activity, what we have is the goals that were originally written at the very beginning, that the user can then rate on how they've achieved them during this lesson. And at the end of this, they're able to produce a document that they can then download or submit it, and this will submit it to the Moodle gradebook. So this is the really important thing. It starts to interact with the Moodle gradebook.
But not if you post it in WordPress.
Not if this is embedded from WordPress. This was not embedded from WordPress. This was an H5P activity inside Moodle. So if we go back and have a look at the gradebook setup, and actually look at the grader report, we've got some from earlier. So here's my test student. I can have a look at this document tool, and I can see the report from this, and I can start to see this breakdown of the goals that were set, the information that they put in, and then the goals that were assessed at the end, and the grade and the score that they were given. Now, this could be a hugely useful tool from an ILP perspective, for example, if you don't want to buy into costly learning plan software, or again, just as a self-reflective document. And these are all stored in the gradebook, and the students can then print this off, or you could print it off for them, for example. And so I just think this tie-in to the gradebook is something that H5P have really worked on a lot recently. And so it's just worth recognising that it's there. If we have a look at another example, I think, where we did so this was an interactive course presentation, the feline anaesthesia one. We can see the report, and we can see this really colourful breakdown of what was right and what was wrong. And again, that could be fed back to the user and printed off for them as revision, almost, I would think. So just being aware that this gradebook setup is available, I think, is really important. And you can also set grades to pass as well. So if there's 30 quiz questions and you need it to be 25 out of 30 in order to pass, when you edit the H5P settings, there's an option under grade that will, that will show the grade to pass, which I don't have in there at the moment, and that will feed in automatically to the gradebook. I find that sometimes Storyline or Rise doesn't do that, and then you want to go and edit the gradebook's items manually and change the grades and things like that. So, yeah, gradebook integration, I think, is a really sort of useful feature. Any questions on what I've covered so far? Yes?
Just wondering, that gradebook thing, is that for all of the 42 interactive things?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think if you can build it in the H5P plugin and it's in Moodle, then yes. And if there is a grading element to it, which I think not all of them do. So, for example, there's an image slider, which is basically where you can just compare two images. So that would not have a grading element to it.
The way we've done it is one don't have grades into it, and we just have activity completion, and it contributes viewing activity as activity completion.
Yeah. Yeah, unless you're you can even get activity completion if you're embedding it, but not if it's just to be viewed. I guess that would be harder because I don't think it will necessarily trigger that you've slid the image across, for example.
I do it all within Moodle, so I don't like this.
None of the embedding. Okay. Any other questions on what we've covered so far? Yes.
I do wonder about the interactive video and the efficacy of it. And I've looked online for any research that kind of very near knowledge check or formative check is an effective way of testing learning. Has anyone here seen research that shows that level of nearness rather than letting them watch the whole video and then questioning them? Yeah, but the idea is you'd be asking multiple questions every few minutes. Is there any efficacy research?
I don't know, is the honest answer.
So I couldn't find anything.
Are we actually testing their knowledge, or sometimes it's mentioned now, are we just making sure they're paying attention and picking up?
Well, that's the thing. So it's,
And therefore they will be learning more, but are we just, are the questions that we actually test the knowledge as well, or are they trying to point out the interesting points?
You also don't have to have questions that give me points to consider or
Yeah.
causes. That's how we make best use of it. I think in not having those immediate questions, which is, you know, the answer yes, no, you keep going. It's more a cause of consideration. It's really good in that regard. We can add some links to go further out, things like that. So it's probably the user we need to criticise rather than the technology. It's how it's used.
well, you know, that's what I'm saying. So, like if you're when you're testing interfaces, you usually do A/B testing. Yeah. So you do it with those puzzles, do it without the puzzles, and then check later if there's so much of an exam what was the outcome. Which is very interesting to see the research. I mean, I like them. I think they're cool. They're interactive and they force attention. I just wonder whether they're better for learning or not. I don't know. Sorry.
No, that's all right. No, I don't know either. Yeah, I was going to show an example. This was, so we were using, and we still do, we use PowerPoint templates for making storyline and actually H5P content. And so I did a screen recording of how to use this particular template. And again, I didn't want to just send, I mean, what is it? It's a 15-minute video. So I could have just sent my authors who are vets a 15-minute video, or I could give them this, which again is broken down into bookmarks that they can quickly access, that at certain points, I think there is a little knowledge check in there, but there's also things like additional resources. But there you go. I don't want to hear me. Or useful websites that they might want to access, for example. So I think those interactive elements, here we go. So here's a pop-up of a website that they might want to access whilst they're watching it. That to me is where it becomes really useful. I take your point about the interaction. I think it depends on the nature of the video, potentially, and what you're trying to get out of it. But yeah, it's a fair point. Okay, I'm conscious that I've been talking quite a lot. The one other thing I definitely wanted to make you aware of is, it's not something I use very often, but I think I'm going to start using it more and more, is the Moodle single course format. So there's nothing to stop you creating a course which is literally just an H5P presentation or the H5P document tool, for example. And whatever you're doing inside that activity is going to get recorded into the gradebook there and then. So again, whether that's sort of viable for your your industry or your sort of place of teaching, because I know there are sometimes set ways in which courses can be built, but I think if you have that degree of freedom, this single course format can become really, really invaluable, because it's just going to make life very easy. And you may have a category which is a collection of resources, and each course is basically its own resource, and that's it. So again, it's just another way of utilising H5P effectively. I haven't really got a great deal more to cover on it, apart from I don't really want to sort of show things in great depth. The one thing that was launched recently was the branching scenario. So this is a really advanced tool for creating basically scenario-based learning that can utilise video, images, interactive videos that you can make inside the lesson as well. And there are some amazing examples on the H5P site of a, I think it's, let me just find it very quickly. So it's used for training, no, wrong link, my bad. Here we go. So it's used for training on home visits. And so a lot of work has obviously gone into this to produce this, because it's very video-based. And it's about trying to select the right answer or the right response based on the video information that you're shown. So you can read the I'm not so keen on this because the information is really small. But once you've read the information, you're given the first video. We'll skip through.
What do you want?
And then you choose the response based on what you think is the right. And obviously what your response is going to be the next video that it's going to show you. So I'm going to say that refer to the next.
Hi, I'm Ann Jones, a visiting mental health nurse, and have been asked to come and assess you.
What do you mean, visiting mental health nurse? I don't need to see a mental health nurse. Go away!
Okay. So that's probably the wrong response. So it will give me options to try again. Now this is potentially a complicated resource to make, but I think if you were to put the facilities and the time and effort into it, it doesn't have to be video based. You could produce something really engaging. They do another example with European art. So again, this is more about covering information, and you can choose which area. Well, no, I've got it wrong. It's going to make me do it again. Western art. Yay, that's the right one. And then I can go to the next art period and see what I want to learn more about, and so on and so forth. So it's based, again, I guess, pretty much like Storyline is. It looks a lot easier than Storyline. I find Storyline head-scratchingly difficult at times. So, another useful resource. Are there any questions? Because I'm kind of conscious that I don't want to show too much. Yes?
I have a question about the essay.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier. The essay questions got various keywords.
Yes.
And the answers based on that. Have you used it successfully? Because I haven't used it, and I'm conscious that it's not really testing essay writing.
No, it's not about testing. So I think maybe the phrase essay is slightly misleading. I don't think it's about assessing essay writing as such. I think that it's really just about trying to pick out these key words to, I guess, assess the knowledge and understanding of a subject, for example. Yes?
There is in the Floating database, there's a Moodle question
Yeah.
that tends to do a similar thing.
Yeah.
I demonstrated that 2 years ago, and it sticks with Moodle design paradigm, so it's largely used in H5P. But it does a very similar thing, so if you're interested in, and I know the chap who developed it, and it's under development, so that's something else to look at. Interestingly, based on my last comment, there was a thing called P-Match,
Thank you. I think there was a...
Yeah, two questions. Firstly, about the essay writing one.
Yep.
I know you just said that maybe essay is the wrong term to use. However, if you're coming up to that sort of an activity and you knew it was graded that way, you're just going to start putting key words in for anything. Just, what can I remember that's a key word? Let's just throw them all in. Because you're not going to negatively mark me, so I'll just have all the marks and get it.
I think that's about how you choose to use it, though.
Yeah.
So you don't call it an essay question. It is about, can you remember, and if a student can throw that many keywords into it that they get a percent on it, then they remember them.
Actually, you just reminded me that the question type was described by its creator as it was for screening their text. In other words, they type it in, when the teacher comes to mark it, as soon as you look at it, you get an idea of what they've done. By the way, we don't know what's on way teachers.
But it's basically family fortunes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to call it an essay, you can say, so what are the key symptoms of X?
Yeah.
And you just put in all those.
They can list it down.
Yeah.
But yes, but I think the example that the guy who authored it was, tell me what Lord of the Rings is about. So that's, you're asked to summarise a story, for example, and if you mention Gollum and, all these other things, then you'll get points for that. So when you then show the exemplar solution answer, that then becomes the refresher tool to point out the things that you may have forgotten, I suppose. So I can definitely see its uses.
I can certainly see its uses. I think the differentiation comes between, it's not a multiple choice, it's not a short answer question.
No.
So it's giving students or teachers the ability to create something that allows a long answer and some way of pattern matching within that answer. It's never going to mark it as an essay. You need teachers to do that to be able to go through it.
Yeah.
But it can highlight whether a student has identified the main points, even if you're asking them to just bullet list something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's often what we say, just write a list of these symptoms, for example. Any other questions or observations on the world of H5P?
There was one actually, so there was two
Yeah.
parts. The second one, the thing you just most recently showed us there, what was the difference between that and the video that had questions in it? Was it just the fact that those texts at the start?
What was the thing I just showed you?
The branch
Every choice you made had a video.
Right, okay, fine.
Yeah.
On that example, you don't have to use videos. A different example of that would be something I built years ago. I had to do it all in PHP and God knows what again. Actually, it was cat's pajamas and your the Bloom's taxonomy big chart thing. I did a tool guide with a sort of, do you want to be assessing your students? Do you want to be communicating with your students? Do you want to be showing something? And it went through right the way down to, okay, so use this tool within Moodle. And the reason I built it was actually the version I built for University of Wales Newport then linked to the CPD and training materials, videos, pages that the other learning technologists have built. It's a branching database. It's something I used to be a primary school teacher, for those of you that don't know. I never mentioned it ever, honest. We used to teach branching databases in sort of year 4 and year 5. It's an extension on that. It's a yes, no.
Yeah.
Get through to thing, and that particular example has just been pick the videos for it. Now that H5P have done that, I might go back and rebuild that tool using this.
It does make sense now. I said then, looking at the ranking on the screen that you just showed then, I think my confusion was on the basis that if you clicked any of the wrong answers, it stopped you.
Right, okay.
I think that's why I did.
No. I probably didn't go over it thoroughly enough, but yes, it's to take you off in different angles or different pathways potentially, but hopefully get you to the right point at by the end.
It's something I guess you could build in Moodle already with the lesson.
You could.
Yes. Anyone who's ever actually tried to build a lesson in Moodle.
Yeah. It's hard work.
Yeah.
Someone done any work with students using H5P to build resources as part of an assessment or part of an
Well, I think that's really interesting as well. I was thinking about this earlier, and I didn't know whether through Gav, I know in the past you spoke about LTIs and how you could potentially link a WordPress site to your Moodle access. So if you gave access through the Moodle course that they had the permission to build them, then yes, there's absolutely no reason why not. Yeah, and should be encouraged, I think, obviously with a bit of training involved, but. Yeah. Yeah.
Technically, I suppose you could give, you could try out giving role overrides within Moodle.
Yeah, exactly.
To the activity, even just on the activity level.
Yeah.
Rather than medicine. But I would certainly probably give them a playtime in WordPress or somewhere like that, that they could build things and play around with things and submit them.
Yeah. Well, what my worry would be, I don't know if there'd be the potential to edit someone else's, but. There's always backups. Very good. Thank you, everybody.